All right, so let's look at our agenda today. Actually, this is an old agenda. Let's see if let me refresh it. All right, so you'll see people coming in. What are the work? Someone asked me, what can you do to pick up a grade? Well, it's pretty simple. I mean, if you look at the assignments, someone asking me, oh, when do you get grading on them? Well, some of the things, if you guys turn in late, kind of swamped right now, but get them as before the grades are due, definitely. But if you look at the homework, there's assignments that are due every week. Those are the things you need to do to catch up. So yeah, I mean, you have questions, ask me, but it's pretty straightforward. The last few weeks we had a chapter 4, chapter 5. We had chapter 3 and chapter 5 outline. So if you were here last week, this is what we did in class. And if you missed it, I recorded the session and then I posted the link up on Schoology. So essentially, what we did was the first half of class, we looked at chapter 3 and 5. Chapter 3 was about the extent of social media and how it's affecting journalism. That's what we talked about last time. And there was a discussion post that you're supposed to do the week before that, if you remember. And then what we did after that was week 5 stuff, right? So which we learned about interviews. And so one of the key things we do in the class, if you remember, is the outlines, right? So I give you guys PDFs of the chapter outlines of chapters, and you're supposed to complete the outline. So make sure you get those done for the next grading period if you want credit for it. And then the second half of class, and this is very important if you missed class last week, we had an interview, and there's a question mark there because I wasn't completely sure if were going to show up, but we had an interview with Mr. Manzano, and actually Mr. Garibaldi showed up too, which was awesome. And you guys had questions from them. We came up with it. So please, 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 if you haven't, go back and watch that because we are actually going to do an article based off of the responses. We're all going to write a similar topic about their responses. So keep that in mind. All right, so going to today, we're going to do a check-in, we're going to do an article annotation, and we're going to do, the article is going to review the election a little bit. And the last thing we do for homework is an template. Basically, I have a template for you guys, and using the interview with Mr. Manzano from last week, we're going to write the bare bones of an article. And then, as I mentioned many times, so I had chapter 3 and 5 outlines due over over the last 3 weeks. On Friday, I'm going to open up a quiz, and remember, it's always open book, open notes, open whatever, and you have 2 times to take that quiz. So make sure you pass that. But I'm not opening it until Friday because I want to give everyone a chance to at least catch up on looking at the notes from last week and the outline. All right, so let's do our quick check-in. And as always, I use a check-in to for attendance in the end. Let me show you guys our check-in. All right, so right now is a very crazy time period. We have elections and whatnot. Here are a list of emotions. So I think it's more helpful instead of just saying like, oh, I feel bad, I feel good, I feel great, whatever, is to have a bit more descriptive words to describe how you're feeling. So here's a list of words. And for our check-in today, everyone use a chat box to explain how you're feeling. I'll give you 2 minutes to get that done. Am I sharing the right screen? Hold on, let me share the correct screen. Oh yeah, so you should see a list of emotions. Use the chat box and tell me how you're feeling today. I'll give you a minute to figure that out. Actually, I should set up my timer. Oh, that is covering. Oh, that's frozen now. Let me get rid of that. There you go. All right, I'll just do a timer on my own. You stop about, I'll give extra minute. So how are you feeling today? How are you feeling today? Definitely someone says none of the above. That's not an answer because there's so many different feelings. If you have none of that, tell us your own feelings then. All right, let's see what we got. So I see a lot of feelings. So we have nervous, anxious, stressed, relieved, worried, stressed and self-conscious, stressed, worried, relaxed, irritated, worried. Daisy's happy. Christian's nervous. We have some stress, fearing for your rights. That's very exact. Neutral, worried. Brian, I mostly feel relieved, but I'm also a bit frustrated at the same time. Let's go, Christopher. Can you give us a little more elaboration on that? Why do you fear your rights? That's a very interesting response. Christopher, you there? We'll come back to you. You'd rather not. Okay. Brian, we always like to hear from you. How are you feeling today?
Me, Brian?
Yeah, you, Brian Valdivia.
Um, well, like I said, I'm kind of relieved, but at the same time, very frustrated because I'm relieved because I just finished my Cal State apps, but like that's something I got out of the way, and I finished my FAFSA. I just need my UCs, and the only thing I have about my UCs is just my last PIQ, like literally just one more 350 word essay, and then I'm done with that, and that's it. I don't have to worry about college no more until I have to sign up for community college, which probably is just going to be two. But what I'm frustrated about is still that I have to worry about my grades, and I'm so behind with. There's some classes where I'm ahead, but there's some classes where I'm like really behind, and it's just like I try to find a balance, and now it's like I can focus most of my time on it now, but at the same time, it's still gonna be frustrating to get as much as I can done before the 13th.
Yeah, for sure, Yeah, there's like college applications and stuff. Yeah, definitely. Cool. I think we're good. Some else want anyone else to share. But what we're going to do today, so we did a quick check-in. As you guys all know, let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen again. As you guys all know, we are undergoing an election cycle. Very. Have you guys been following that by any chance and seeing what's happening in the world right now? Possibly, possibly. All right. Well, regardless, we're gonna look at it today. So, yeah. So someone sent a message to Biden still waiting. Yeah, it's tight. It's a tight. This is probably the closest race I've seen. Um, that I've been paying attention to. In the year 2000, there's actually between Bush and Al Gore, it came down to one state. So this is kind of similar in nature. The points will be very close. What I want you guys to do today is go to our folders and let me make sure go to week 12 and then click on The assignment says annotation election results. So we're going to look at an article from LA Times. Click on this. Trump steps up false claims of election fraud. So what we're going to do, this is an assignment we did in the past. We're going to look at an article from the LA Times. And as we read the article, I want you to find these 10 items. So the publication, the headline, the byline, the cut lines, lead sentence, the nut graph. And this time you just look for at 7 and 8. I want you to find multiple quotes and multiple attributions. Really go to sleep until then. Yeah. So on 7, so you didn't go. I actually did the same exact thing. At 3 a.m. I kept refreshing to see what was happening with the election process and see what was happening. And I went to sleep at 3. Then I woke up at 6 a.m. to double check it because it's a big deal. So the formatting is a little funny, but we're gonna read this article together, and then after that, I'm gonna give you time to annotate this in small groups, and we'll come back together. So before I do this, I want to give some background information. As some of you may know, because I know we have seniors in the class, and you might have studied electoral college. So the election process was very close yesterday, very, very close. When we went to bed, and as Christopher said, at 2 a.m., President Trump was still leading, right? At 11 p.m., he declared victory over Joe Biden. He says, because at that point, he was winning. However, the problem was there was still, I think, 5 million outstanding ballots across the 5 or 6 battleground states. These are all mail-in ballots. So people were arguing that he was delegitimizing, or he was falsely claiming victory, even though there were still ballots to be counted, right? So LA Times wrote an article about this. So remember, we're going to read through this, and then I'm going to give you time to look at it, and we're going to break off into groups for you to look for these 10 items: publication, headline, byline, cut line, lead sentence, nut graph, quotes, quote attribution, context, elaboration, paragraph, and then the kicker quote. So these are all things we did in the past, but we're going to review it one more time. All right, so Trump steps up false claims of election fraud. Washington, it's kind of funny because some of the formatting's a little off. And if you're kind of curious about how to get here, on Unit 2, Week 12, you're going to click on the assignments. Let me just double check if you guys were able to get there. Some of you guys haven't yet. Let me refresh this. So you want to open this up for yourself. I'll wait. I'll actually give you a minute to get that open. So Michelle's had his open. Brian has his open. Cool. I'll give you guys another minute. I know some of your computers are laggy and we had a few people join a little late. So I'll give you a minute to get that open. All right, you know what? I want to actually read this together afterwards. I'm gonna send you guys into your breakout rooms right now. And then in your breakout rooms, I want you to annotate this document looking for those 10 items. When we come back, we're going to look at it. So Miss K, did you want to go to the breakout room or you want to stay in the in the main room with me?
I think I'd like to just see their breakout room.
All right. So one of you guys will have the pleasure of having Miss K.
I'll be a silent observer. I promise I won't like screw up your work.
Yeah. So
Guys work.
when I break it off, usually in groups of about 5. And then I'm always, don't wait for me to double check this, but I implore you guys when you're in your rooms to try your best to, turn on cameras, at least communicate with each other. Use this time to work through the assignment together. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes to read through it, and you're gonna look for those 10 items: publication headline, byline, cut lines, lead sentence, net graph. So keep in mind, there are multiple cut lines, there are multiple quotes, but you don't need to do all quotes. I just want you to do a few just to prove you know what a quote looks like and what a quote attribution looks like. Your groups are going to be in about 5 people. So I'll see you guys all back in 10 minutes. Make sure you annotate this and we'll review it together afterwards. Yeah, hey, Rohan, we're in breakout rooms right now. I'm going to send you to breakout room 3. Hey, Alexis, I'm going to put you in a breakout room right now.
Yeah, I was already in one, but they kicked me.
I don't know that.
Oh, okay. Well, it's going to send you back into one.
All right.
They're working individually and not with each other.
Yeah, I imagine. So this class, for whatever reason,
I have one of these kids in my class,
Yeah.
but it wasn't in my group. I kind of like pilfered because one of the questions was like, is 50% of the camera on? I'm like, no. I told my kids first day they don't have to turn on their cameras. They're not going to.
Yeah.
How can that be on the form? I know that that's what they want, but I told my kids first day. Sorry, I was kind of going through the form while I was doing in their room. But I was like, how can you ask 50% of cameras on if we've told them day one you don't have to turn on your cameras? But anyways, but they're working individually.
Yeah, I imagine so. I don't know. This class, I get a very low turnout for like homework. Very, very low.
I switched it so that my kids have to do their assignment with me.
Yeah, we're gonna do it, but I want to switch it up a few times so it's not me just telling the answers every single time. But
I would love to observe like another time when they're not, but in breakout rooms to see like your actual teaching.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But because last year I was gonna come when you did circles, or I forgot what I was gonna, and then I could never come.
Those were fun. Those were really
The
fun.
circle thing. I wanted to come and watch you do the circle thing that supposedly Manzano was like, he's so good at this. And I was like, I want to come see this. And it never panned out last year.
Yeah, it's funny. I was trying to, because a lot of what I do in the classroom is collaboration and movement and stuff. So it's kind of weird adjusting to digital for a bit.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I want to come see the circle thing. I don't know what the circle thing is, by the way. I just know it's something that you do that circle.
No, it's just based like we do Socratic seminars. I'm not sure what he's talking about exactly. I base a lot of what I do also on restorative justice circles too.
That's probably what it was. It's probably an RJ circle.
It probably is, maybe. Definitely something very difficult to do online.
All right. Well, thank you.
I'm sorry it wasn't
I did give you a warning. You're coming on a very weird day.
Yeah. If you have time, actually you probably have a
I have this period off.
Yep, you probably have a third period, huh?
No, I don't.
Oh, you should go to my
I only teach 8th period. It just happened that this morning I had a meeting and then the physics teacher needed tech help. This is what I mean. I don't get to observe good practices.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean that in a bad way, but whenever I get called to a class, like this morning I was called into the physics teacher's Zoom because he was having Nearpod issues, but it was a bandwidth issue and I can't fix bandwidth.
Yeah.
And so when I get called to a classroom, it's not for me to like observe good teaching practices to improve my practice. It's, hey, can you help with this tech?
Yeah. That must be annoying.
It blows my mind. I'm like, I'm still a teacher. Yes, I did collaborate last year. Not that that's a thing, but it's different. Even the use of language is different when you're dealing with kindergarten. I taught kindergarten the last 4 years.
Definitely. I mean, if you can come watch my AP class during 3rd period, it's a fun class, more engaging.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, definitely. I'll send you a link.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, guys. So more people are coming back in. I know that probably wasn't enough time, but that's at least enough time for us to kind of get a gist of it. We're going to go over it together right now. We have about 30 seconds before everyone starts showing up.
We only got to the lead sentence, mister.
That's okay. We'll go over it together. No, Barney here's early. Okay, we'll go over this together. All right, so you should see my screen, and if you didn't get into this stuff, just follow along, and we'll do it. All right, So what is the publication? What we look,
That's right below the headline.
what's the name of it?
It's usually the date, isn't it?
No,
Like what?
publication.
It's like, oh no, the publication is when it was published, wasn't it?
No, that's
Really?
publication date. But so Denise actually got it right. So publication is actually the name of the the newspaper, right? So we call that the publication.
Oh,
So
so I got that wrong. Ooh.
yeah. So this is the publication, right? How do I comment?
Oh, okay, so this is publication, this is byline.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. So I got half of it right on my side.
Um,
So I delete publication, leave byline.
I'm having trouble commenting on this. Okay, so our publications right here. You know, I'm just gonna.
I can't comment on it, mister. It won't let me.
Yeah, I know. Let me hold on. Let me make a copy so I don't ruin the original version. It's loading. It's loading.
I'm gonna just put it together with the headline because it highlights both of them.
Yeah. All right. So LA Times is the publication. What is the headline?
Headline is right below it.
What's the name? What's the headline?
Trump steps up false claims of election fraud.
Yeah. So right here, this is our headline. So headline is basically the title of the article, and then what is our byline?
It should be right below that, actually.
Yeah. So our byline is what tells us key information like who wrote the article, when the article was written, and yeah. So we're here. We know Chris Merrigan, Noah Bierman, and Eric Stolz. We know the dates right here. So we put, this is our byline. So we found two things already. Cool. Three things actually. As we learned before, we're gonna go through and save our cut lines, right? So cut lines are going to be the things right below pictures. So here's our first picture of Trump very angry. President Trump pockets a list of incomplete voting results while speaking to supporters in the White House early Wednesday. Right here, we have, this is our first cut line. Let's call it cut line number one because we're gonna have more of them. Yeah. All right, so we have, usually start out with our location. So it's Washington. All the warnings were there. Democrats spent months urging their supporters to vote by mail, and analysts cautioned that it could take days to count them all, leading to some states initially looked like victories for President Trump, only to later shift towards Biden. But that didn't stop Trump from basically criticizing the counting of legal ballots in battleground states as nefarious as Wednesday morning, stepping up his efforts to use false accusations of fraud to salvage his re-election bid.
Isn't that the lead sentence?
Yeah, so usually it's going to be one sentence and it's shorter, but it's such a complicated issue. It's going to be our lead. This whole
Yeah, because I knew it was the first one because I was reading the first one. That makes sense. But then I was like, wait, it has a period, and you said lead sentences should not
Yeah.
be lead sentence, and that's all. I was like,
definitely it should be the first one, but I think they spent two sentences on this because it's such a complicated issue that they wanted to spend more time on it. The result was predictable after Trump prematurely declared victory at the White House. Team of campaign lawyers ready lawsuits, and Americans endured another nail-biting day as the president tweeted false claims and Biden pleaded for patience. All right, this is going to be our nut graph. Remember, the nut graph gives more information to the lead sentence. So we have our lead, which gives us what the article is about, the who, the what, the when, the why. And then the lead gives us more why and more how, right? So it gives us more understanding. So basically, what it's doing is, this article says that Trump declared that he was the winner. Okay, so what's the next thing we're looking for? We have our cut lines, we have our nut graph and lead sentence. Let's highlight that. So it's just a mark that we're done.
I'm
And
noticing I'm understanding it more as I keep on going.
huh?
I'm noticing after some time of doing these annotations, I'm understanding nut graph quote, the lead sentence, cut lines, like where they are and all that.
Yeah, it usually, I mean, you know something about journalism, they kind of follow the same pattern. Like some really good writers will start to switch, like, the structure of it. But generally, news stories, they follow like a pattern, right? All right, so we have our lead sentence. Oh, yeah. I know we had quote attribution, definitely. Yeah, this is a photo attribution. I didn't ask you guys to look for it, but thank you for finding that. That's very attributions.
What's a photo attribution?
There's two types of journalism. There's photojournalism and written journalism. You always give credit to who took the picture. So this person is not the author of the article. They're the photographer of the picture.
Oh, got it.
You just give them credit. Like when we did our school newspaper, we usually give credit to Yearbook or someone who takes pictures for us. All right, so this next part, I just wanted you to look for quotes. So this is a lead quote. So the lead quote basically means the first quote you choose. And the first quote you choose really sets the tone of an article. You don't have to put notes like that. Oh, so when you highlight it, so let me highlight it, you should see like this box appear on your Google Docs. But if that doesn't appear, you could put insert tool, not tools. What is it?
I right click on it.
Yeah, you could. I right click and you hit comment, or you could hit right here and comment. But yeah, you could always find it. Brian Boland, I did it. Cool. And then right here's our lead quote. The lead quote sets the tone. And then after you give a quote, actually, sorry about that. Let me fix this a little bit. So here's our quote, our lead quote. And then our attribution is different right here. This is the person that said the quote. Right? Sometimes it should be Trump said, but we're referring to his tweet. So this is the attribution. I have to do it slightly different. That's okay, actually. Lead quote. It's hard for me to highlight both of them because I highlight one of them, but right here we do it. Here is an attribution, quote attribution. What quote attribution just means is we are giving credit to who said the quote. All right, so on here, last night I was leading after solidly in many key states, in almost all instances, Democrat run and controlled. Trump tweeted Wednesday morning. Then one by one, they started magically disappear as surprise ballot dumps were counted. Very strange, and the pollsters got it completely and historically wrong, which is true, that part, but he's talking about mail-in ballots. Some states decided to count mail-in ballots late. So after quotes, right? Every time you put a quote, you want to give more information. We could call this elaboration, right? So we have quotes and quote attributions or context. So Twitter labeled a tweet as potentially misleading about an election or other civic process. A slap on the wrist that did nothing to deter the president's scorched earth attack on the country's democratic process. So this gave more information about the situation. So this is context or elaboration. Most of the stuff in the middle of an article will either be context, elaboration, or quote. So as votes were tallied Wednesday, Biden surged ahead. So we give more information, more information, more information. We have another quote. If you notice, every time there's a quote, we have attribution. So Democrats, one email said, it goes on. And anything in between. So like these things are all elaboration and context. So I'll read it. Something resembling fairness and balance on Fox on Wednesday night couldn't mean that difference between millions of Americans accepting the election's legitimacy or not. When Michigan reported a sharp increase in Biden's vote tally, largely from Democratic stronghold Detroit and its environs, Matt Walsh, as conservative commentator, tweeted that no honest person can look at this and say it's normal and unconcerning. Twitter slapped another warning label on Walsh's tweet, but not before Trump shared it with an all-caps message. What is this all about? The commentary seeped into, if you look at this, we give more information, we get quotes. You can highlight any of these things. There was a special focus on Pennsylvania, a pivotal background where Trump held a sizable lead 4 years after he won the state. You can statistically go back and tell me that the thing is still really in play. Jason Schaffner's. We get another quote. This is a quote attribution. I mean, you could honestly highlight any of these things. So anytime, and this time you see, they put the quotes on outside of the attribution. But it's possible Pennsylvania officials said that 1.4 million ballots were still uncounted, with nearly 800,000 from 6 counties in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh area where Biden is expected to rack up big numbers. There's a lot of information here, but if you go all the way to the bottom, so one of the last thing I want you to find, we did this. So anything that gives you more information is your context elaboration. And then your kicker quote is what we call our last thing, our last quote. So the last quote you get is always the more like interesting or fiery ones. So let's look at the quote, last quote. McConnell added, the whole thing's the same. Going to court is the only way to resolve uncertainty in our country. McConnell added, you can anticipate in close elections, both sides will be lawyered up and will end up in courts. That is our kicker quote. And that is an important quote to put because it adds like this uncertainty of what's going to happen in the future. So let's review that real fast. So what we do is our headline was up here. It was hard for me to look at, to comment on it because I mean, it was an image. Here is our headline, publication, our byline. We have a cut line. We have a photo attribution. This was our lead sentence. This was our nut graph. This was our lead quote. So that means when I say that is the first quote you put. Remember, quotes have attributions, and then after the rest of the story is made up of either quotes or context and elaboration. And the difference between context and elaboration is context give information, elaboration gives you're kind of explaining what it's about. So I gave you a long article just because it's something that happened. Is still happening today, regardless of who wins the election today. There's going to be craziness. People are going to dispute it. We have a country that has 320 million people, and about 100,000 people will make up the difference between one candidate and the next, according to the way things will shake up. So you might see a lot of protests and riots within the next few weeks, few days. Just like a heads up.
Mr. Where's the kicker quote?
The kicker quote is the last quote. It's a final quote in the article.
Oh, that's where it usually is?
Yep. So the kicker quote, what it really does is you're supposed to choose one of your most interesting, exciting quotes and leave at the bottom. And that kind of leaves people thinking thinking.
I thought that you said the lead quote was the one that you wanted to have the.
Oh, the lead quote is a quote you want. It's interesting, but it still relates to the focus of your paper, right? It relates to what's the paper is about. The kicker quote is supposed to let you kind of lead you thinking, leave you wanting more. It's supposed to be something that's interesting. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's like the final thing you say in your paper.
Yeah, this is actually helping me out with my other homework also.
Okay, so After you finish that, you could submit it. And I'm going to show you one last thing that we're going to do for homework.
Sure, I have a question.
Yeah, go on. Go ahead, Giovanni.
So you know how you said we can't you know how the publication is LA Times, right?
Yeah.
So since our headline is Trump steps up for false claim, can we use also the source? I mean the website as a publication because it's still LA Times. So
Oh yeah, yeah, you definitely could do that.
because in mine's I put headline and the publication next to it because of the website on top.
Yeah, as long as you know that LA Times is a publication, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
That's the goal of what I want you to do. Oh, I forgot to add the assignment in. Okay. Let me add it in right now. Article template number 2. And you have until next week. This is an article, so it's a major grade. And add the assignment. Cool, here it is. All right, go to week 12 and click on article template number 2. When you're done with the election results one, you could submit that. I mean, all it is, if you followed along, you should be fine. The goal is just to learn the different parts of article. And I like to do that when we read new articles so you guys get information. But click on article template number 2. And you should see something that looks like this. And I make a copy of it because I don't like to ruin the original version. So you should see a chart that looks like this. Based on our interview with Mr. Monsanto and Garibaldi, we're going to write an article about school and like quarantine or distance learning, right? However you want to spin the article is up to you, but our goal is to use them as our sources for our story. And if you look at this, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes I have you to write. So in the first box, I want you to write 1 to 2 sentences in 35 words, roughly 35 words. What is going to be the focus? What did you learn about distance learning? What do you want to talk about? What's the, from that interview we saw, what was the interesting thing you took from that piece? Do you want to talk about school, like kids' grades and like their mental state? Do you want to talk about sports? Do you want to talk about the possibility that school may remain closed? Do you want to talk about whatever, right? Whatever you saw in that interview that you found was like an interesting piece, you could take your story that way. But you want to spend the first sentence right here. You want to spend the first sentence right here talking about the who, what, when, where, and why, right?
Mister, what if we were absent that day?
If you go back to the updates, let me show you. Updates. And right here, intro, you'll see a video. And if you skip for like 30 minutes, you could watch the interview with Monsanto. That's how it looks.
Oh, that's so helpful. Oh my God. I missed like half of it because it kicked me out.
Yeah. So if you go to our updates, I post our class links every week. So like this one, I'm going to post later today. Yeah. So if you miss any of what they said, you go back and look at it. For your assignment, what you need to do is choose something they say and focus a story on it. So don't try to do a story on everything they're saying because they went through like 10 different topics. Someone asked me in the comments, do we submit the annotation? If you're done with it, you can submit it. If you want to spend more time with it, submit it later. So for this one, they talked about so many different things. Try to focus in on one thing you heard that you want to write a story on. So the lead sentence is the 5 W's and the H, and you want to write that in one sentence. The nut graph, like all the other articles, it gives more information. And then I want you to get a direct, so this is gonna be 2 to 3 sentences, this is gonna be 1 sentence. The nut graph, I want you to get a direct quote from either Mr. Monsanto or Mr. Garibaldi and quote them. But remember, the quote you choose should relate to the focus you're choosing. So if you want to talk about student health, make sure you choose a quote about student health. You want to talk about sports or senior activities, make sure you choose a quote that relates to senior activities, right? So it should have quote and then attribute the quote to who said it. So it should be either said Principal Garibaldi or said Assistant Principal Monsanto, right? And then what you want to do is give us some background information about the quote. So if let's say you choose a quote, your story is about like student health, and you get a quote that Mr. Monsanto said about students struggling, and then you take information from what they said and paraphrase it. Say, or you could research some stuff, but give us some background information. And then what does it all mean? So after analyzing the quote, analyzing the context, the background information, explain to me, what does it mean? What's the implications? What happens? Altogether, it's going to be 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 4, 7, 9. 9 to like 11 sentences altogether. So not too much, not too bad. Oh, forgot. What you need to do is think of a headline too. On your own paper, include that, write this in, headline. Think of a fun headline for your paper. Any questions about this? Brian, does it make sense?
Yeah, but they did say a lot of, okay, so like the one thing that it's kind of like a question, but I'm gonna ask it behind, but I guess it could be a question for like the whole class. They did talk about a lot, but at the same time, they all kind of relate to each other. So I don't like one would mention they're all related towards our school.
Yeah, so you want to find like some like a aspect you want to focus on about something they said. I mean, it's
Okay,
all
and then,
about distance learning in school though.
I also had we're doing like a full article, or is it like as much information as we can provide is how long our article would be?
It's very short, so you're just filling the requirements per box.
Okay, because I didn't get much information. Well, from what I was asking them, I kind of wanted them to answer more detailed, but they answered more towards the past rather than towards now.
Yeah,
So they were referencing too much to the past, and that's why I wanted to point it out. But I was like, I don't know,
we'll
and
get
I
them in the
wanted to
future.
know what's going on now, like what's the news now, what's going on now. But
Yeah,
I can't really complain too much because they don't know much either.
yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of confused at the same time because they were just giving me a bunch of old information that.
Yeah. I mean, we got to use what we got. Maybe we could get them back and we could grill them on. But any other questions about this assignment? Yeah, good. All right. So remember, I'll actually post up the link right here too, just in case you guys need a. If you need to go back and see anything they said, I'll skip for like 30 minutes because if you guys remember last week, we waited a while for them to show up. And then use that interview to write an article about something about distance learning. Well, it's not an article, you're just filling out this paper and then we're gonna turn it into an article, but that should be good, man. I'll see you guys next week. Make sure you submit this. All of you guys are asking about your grades. Do this. And one last thing, on Friday, I'm gonna open up a quiz for chapter 3 and 5. So make sure you have those outlines done. That's how you catch up.
Are you gonna post these on your Instagram? The answer, or are you gonna post the questions we asked on your Instagram? Because I think that's something that a concern that everybody should know. Not just
Yeah, definitely. I don't mind posting that, even the whole interview on Instagram.
because I know that you guys do edits, so you can cut down like all the extra information, or if unless you're just gonna post articles. But if they want like a video, if you're suggesting a video, I would just cut it down and to the information that people really want to know.
Brian, would you be interested in doing that for us?
I would have to see.
See,
I was literally because I was gonna do it myself, but then I was like, it might have been just the job for you because I was gonna post it on my Instagram, but I was like, oh, I'll just let you know, and I thought you were gonna have a team about it, but I could try. I'll try it. I'll get back to you about it.
if you're interested, I'll send you the original like video and you could work with it.
The link you sent me should be the original video. I should be able to copy that information off of that. But
I
if
mean, like
I have
the
problems, I'll just let you know.
yeah.
I've done this before, so.
Okay. All right, guys. If you guys need anything, stick around. But if not, class is over. I'll see you guys next week.
All right, then, Mr. Laters.
See ya.
Mister, I have a question.
Yeah, for sure, Giovanni.
So if we have any missing assignments, when we turn them in, do we send you a message telling you what assignments we did, or you just
Yeah.
check them on Friday?
No, just send me a message because if it's an old assignment, it's not going to tell me you did it because after it passes due date, it doesn't send me notifications anymore. So you have to send me a message like, hey, make sure to go back and look at these assignments.
Okay, all right, then, got it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fa, and have a great day and see you.
Yeah, I'll get through those assignments by Friday.